Good afternoon, everyone. Already taking a lunch? Is it yummy or not? Okay. If it is not yummy, just ask the committee for that. Okay, previously, before we take a break, we already having the conversation with Prof. Anemi. It's about the climate change and its impact. It's about how the climate change is happening and what is the cause of global warming, and also how we can having the community approach for the solution about this. For example, the mangrove, or maybe from the government side, maybe from the toll on the Semarang Demak. So in this section, we will specifically talk about the management of disaster and also the impact of the health risk. So here we already joined by our two lecturers from Faculty of Medicine, Diponegoro University. Maybe the first CV, maybe. Okay. Our first lecturer in here, in the middle of the seat here, is Nurse Nur Hafifah Widya Ningtyas SCUP. Please, maybe you can zoom out a little bit, maybe. Okay. So Nurse Nur Hafifah Widya Ningtyas here will talk about maybe. Zoom to the bottom in here. She will talk about the disaster management, but before that, she is the, I will read it from here. She is the lecturer on the Universitas Diponegoro, especially in the Department of Nursing. And also, she have many of the publication and having so much of the formal education here. And also the second one on the far right here, or maybe in your far left, is maybe the CV for our next lecturer, maybe. Is Dr. Ahmad Zulfa Juniarto. Oh my God, this is having so much of the title here. Dr. Ahmad Zulfa Juniarto, MSc Med, MMR, SPN, KFER, PhD. Okay, please go to bottom. He's the expertise that he have is the biology reproduction, molecular disease, molecular nutrition, reproduction, the hospital management, etc. And also, maybe you can scroll down a little bit, maybe. Okay, next. Okay, next. To the bottom here. Okay. 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 Please go to bottom here again. Okay. Yes. He was the head of the Diponegoro Disaster Assistance Response Team, or DIDART. So if you want to ask about the disaster assistance response for the Diponegoro University, you can ask for him later. But for now, I want to invite Nurse Nur Hafifah for giving us the lecture in here. So, thus, you have approximately 45 minutes for this session. Your time, you may start the lecture. Thank you.
Okay, thanks the moderator for the opportunity. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I can see your face, you're both enjoyed and a little bit sleepy. Yeah, because you have just finished your lunch, right? And after finishing our lunch, we usually feel a bit sleepy because our oxygen, yes, being sent to the stomach to digest our lunch, of course. Yeah. Okay, so everyone, as what the moderator has said, I'm Widya Ningtyas, Nur Hafizah Widya Ningtyas. My name is pretty long, but you can say Za instead. Some of my students call me Nurse Za or Miss Za. So simple, it's only 3 alphabets, Z, H, and A. Okay, and I am the lecturer in Department of Nursing, especially in emergency and disaster nursing. So this afternoon, we are going to discuss about disaster management. Okay, so is anyone of you have ever experienced any kind of disaster? Flood, maybe fire, earthquake? Anyone? Hurricane? Tsunamis? Is there anyone ever being the victim of all those disasters? Okay, so thanks God if you have never been caught in this kind of disasters. Yeah. In Semarang itself, I guess last month or perhaps 2 months ago, we had earthquake, right? Was you feel the earthquake, or perhaps you were sleeping, so you didn't notice. Yeah, there was an earthquake. Yeah, previously the earthquake itself was so not so huge, but we can feel that clearly. So some of the students, when we were having lecture, were evacuated to the first floor when we had the lecture on the fifth floor. Okay, so yeah, you can imagine how does it feel to have been evacuated from the high building to the lowest one, to the ground floor. Yeah, so uh, that's why we need to understand something about disaster concept. Okay, and before we are moving to the material itself, have you ever learned disaster concept, perhaps in your university or when you were studying in the lower level of educational level? Have you ever? Yeah, I can see some of you who were my students, yeah, had already have already had this kind of discussion before, yeah. But I believe that yeah, it can be your refreshment, yeah, so you can be what is it, more confident in managing disaster. So this afternoon we are going to emphasize on disaster management itself. Okay, so let's start our discussion. When we are talking about disaster management, yeah, we are going to understand first about 3 cycles of disaster. Is anyone know the 3 cycles of disaster? Disaster. There are 3 phases. The first one is, yes, I can hear the whisper here. There are 3 phases of disaster. The first one is pre-disaster phase. Yeah. Second one is the disaster phase itself, and last one is post-disaster itself. Because we are talking about disaster management, of course, we are going to review all of those phases. Okay, or sometimes we can say at the disaster cycle. Yeah, as what we are going to see on the screen. Next, please. Yeah, so this is the disaster cycle. Can it be read from this far away? And confirm. Can you read? Or it's too tiny? Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so there are 3 phases of disaster. The first one is pre-disaster. It means that it happens before the disaster occurred. Then we have the center one, or the crisis, the one written on the red line. It's the disaster phase. And after that, we will have the post-disaster phase. Yeah. As we can see on the screen, there are several activities we can do in all of these cycles. The first one, in pre-disaster phase, we will have the prevention and also the preparedness. So even if we don't experience any kind of disaster, it doesn't mean that we can just stay calm. We need to prepare because we will never know when the disaster will occur. And we've never known whether we can survive the disaster or not. So that's why we need to prepare everything before the disaster occurred. Okay, so after having the great preparation, of course, yeah, if someday the disaster occurs, we can do something about that. And we usually call it the emergency response or disaster response. After the disaster happens, of course, there are tons of impact, yeah, after having disaster. So we will move to post-disaster phase. What are we going to do in post-disaster phase? The first one is recovery. In this recovery phase, we have rehabilitation and so on. Okay, so this is the disaster cycle, and these are what we are going to discuss about. Okay, next. Okay, so what is the principle of disaster management? These are three principles of managing a disaster. We are going to focus on life saving, human being, but also animals, yeah, plants, yeah. So all kind of God's creature need to be saved. So that's why when we are managing a disaster, we need to think about how to save first human, as many as possible, and then how to save the animals and other God's creatures. Second, the principle is hazard reduction and also prevention of disaster itself. By the way, can disaster be prevented? Yes, especially the man-made one. Unlike the natural disaster like earthquake, yeah, fire, for instance, which is a man-made disaster, can be prevented. So the second one of this disaster management principle is hazard reduction and also prevention. So we need to think, if someday there is a disaster, how can we minimize the impact? How can we minimize the hazard? That is the principle. Last one is the impact control. The impact control, sometimes like earthquake, for instance. What is the impact of an earthquake? The building will be collapsed. Perhaps tons of human will be buried in below the buildings and so on. So we need to think how to control the impact itself. Like sometimes we need to build the safety zone, yeah, the danger zone. Yeah, it usually divided into 3 or 5 zones. And after determining this kind of zones, we can announce to the public which area is safe for you to have daily activities. Yeah, so that is part of impact control. Okay, next. So what should we do actually in pre-disaster phase? Okay, can it be seen from behind? Okay. Yeah, I've already put 3 rectangles here. The first one is mitigation and prevention. Mitigation and prevention are a couple, yeah, which we usually do to analyze what kind of disaster that may occur and what are the impacts of the disaster. In mitigation and prevention phase, we are going to empower the human being. We prepare the human being about the information. Yeah, for instance, what should you do when there is an earthquake? What should you do when there is a fire? And so on. We are going to socialize some disaster information or to give education itself to the citizen about disaster. That is the part of human empowerment, because sometimes, perhaps you have already read in some news, in the newspaper or some other media, yeah. When the disaster is occurred, there are a million people died, for instance. Sometimes it happens because people don't know how to save themselves, for instance. Or they don't aware of the disaster itself. For instance, when we had tsunami in Aceh around 20 years ago, the sea level were decreased and there are tons of fish, yeah, coming to the seashore, and the citizens were taking those fish, yeah, because they thought that it was miracle, for instance, yeah. And after that, the wave coming from the seas and the tsunamis happens. And because of that, tons of people died on the seashore. Okay, so in this mitigation and prevention, we are going to prevent this kind of horrible things. We need to empower the human. What should we do in disaster? What should we prepare, yeah, before evacuating ourselves in disaster? For instance, you need to prepare disaster emergency bag, which consists of foods, drinks, personal medicines, and clothes, blanket, yeah, and so on. In Indonesia, actually, we have already socialized this kind of thing. Perhaps in other countries, it also applied, right? Okay. That is the part of human empowerment. And then the second one is laws and policy. Okay, even if we are health professionals, in disaster management, we can do something on our own. We need other collaborations from other professions. So we need, one of those is laws and policy. Like, for instance, you are prohibited to build a house, yeah, on the cliff, for instance, yeah, or you shouldn't build a house within a dangerous or restricted area near what is it? Near some reactors, for instance, yeah. So we need laws and policies, whether it's in Indonesia or in international laws. Those are things that is written in there, yeah, about how to manage the disaster itself. Okay. Then what else that we need to prepare on disaster mitigation and prevention? We need to have insurance. Do you have insurance? Yes. In Indonesia, mostly you have BPJS for health insurance, but the insurance itself is not only about health, but also the others. Yeah, it is important for us to have insurance. And then education. Education means, yeah, socialization about disaster and so on. Last is financial support. Yeah, financial support, it means that in economic sector, people need to prepare something. If someday the disaster happens, we need to make sure that the economical aspect is not that decreased. Okay. Second one is risk assessment. So before the disaster happen, we need to assess the risk of first hazard, second the vulnerability itself, third is loss prediction. And actually we will also have the fourth, and it is health risk assessment, which will be Mr. Zulfa's material. Okay, last one is preparedness. Preparedness, what should we do? We need to, organize plan of action. It means that when the disaster happens, what should we do? For instance, should we just get out from this building? Which route we can take, and so on. That is plan of action. And then team training. Team training means that we need to build a disaster team. Is any one of you being the part of disaster team? No, not yet, perhaps. Okay. After having the team trained, we need to have simulation, disaster simulation or disaster drill. Have you ever been the part of disaster drill? Not yet. Okay. Yeah, perhaps sometimes someday you will have a simulation also. And the warning development, it's about AWS, early warning system, and about the code, alarm, and so on. Sometimes we don't know there is a disaster. For instance, earthquake. We sometimes don't realize that there is an earthquake until we see the news. So there was an earthquake. Yeah. So that's why we need to build the code, early warning system, and so on. It's to it's to notify the people, hey, this is a disaster happening. You need to do blah, blah, blah. So we need to build the warning development. And we need to make sure that people is understand about the code, the alarm, and so on. Okay, next. Yeah. These are equipments we can use as alarm, especially in Indonesia. beside the digital alarm like fire alarm, in Indonesia also have local wisdom and it's called kentongan. Yeah, the equipment on the right side, it made from bamboo or wood or even steel. Yeah. And it's used to notify people there is something happening. It can be disaster, it can be criminality, and so on. We call it kentongan. Okay, next. Yeah. While using kentongan, of course, we need to understand the code. And this is the code of one of Indonesian community. It is in Bandungan. Bandungan is located in, it's around half hour from here, Bandungan. And it is located on the valley. Yeah. In Bandungan, we have this kind of codes, like if you use kentongan 3 times, it means there is murder. Yeah. If you use this continuous sign, it means that everything is safe and so on. This code should be socialized to the community. So anytime this code is promoted, the community knows what does it mean. Okay, next. Now we are talking about disaster risk assessment. Previously, in pre-disaster phase, we have to assess some risks. Those are the hazard, the vulnerability, and also the loss. Yeah, and these are the risk formula from the traditional one. Yeah, the traditional one, we multiplies the hazard and the vulnerability, so we can get the risk scale, disaster risk scale. Another one is disaster risk assessment matrix. In this part, we are going to assess the consequence or the impact of that disaster, and we combine it with the increasing likelihood, whether the disaster has ever happened or not. Yeah. If the disaster never happened, so it's scored 1. If the impact of the disaster is not giving any damage to the physical aspect, intellectual aspect, humanitarian aspect, and also financial aspect, the score is 1. Okay. Yeah, you can have this kind of simulation later because we need to do this discussion effectively. Actually, these are not the only risk assessment matrix you can use. There are tons of risk assessment matrix you can use to analyze the risk of disaster. Okay, next. Okay, after talking about the pre-disaster activities, now we are going to talk about disaster phase activity. It means that when the disaster occurs, what should we do? And these are the parts of emergency response in disaster setting. First, we need to do rapid assessment. So right after the disaster is occurred, we need to do the rapid assessment. What kind of assessment should we do? First, we need to assess the resource needed. Whether in that community needs health professionals, need foods, need waters, or whatever it is, we need to assess the resources. For instance, there is a flood in Matese region. Yeah. So the team will assess what resources that we need. The community needs blanket, for instance. Or the community needs medical personnel, and so on. Okay. Then we need also to assess the potential damage. By having flood in our area, what kind of damage that can be occurred after the flood? For instance, the house is collapsed, for instance, or the bridge is collapsed, so anyone cannot cross the bridge, and so on. Last is health problems. So besides assessing the resources and the damage, we need also to assess health problem affected by the flood. Okay. Rapid assessment done. After assessing those kind of things, then the government will determine whether this disaster is local, national, or even international. Just like pandemic previously, it was international disaster. But other kind of disasters like earthquake or even hurricane, sometimes it is national disaster. National disaster, for instance, Turkey earthquake. It was national disaster in Turkey. Local disaster is only affecting one area, no more than a province. So it's just local, it's not national. Okay, after determining the disaster status, we can move to have the emergency response. We can do rescue and evacuation. Remember to consider the vulnerable group, such as pregnant woman, elder, and so on. Last, after having rescue and evacuation, we need to think about impact prevention and also rehabilitation. The impact can be affecting human, for instance, the health aspect or even the mental aspect. And it can also affect the infrastructure. So we need to manage the impact of the disaster. We need to avoid any further damage. Okay, so that's what we do in disaster phase. After this, we are going to talk about post-disaster phase. Okay, well, next. So this is the post-disaster phase. There are three kinds of things that we can do in post-disaster phase. First is relief, disaster relief. It happens right after the disaster. Search and rescue. Previously, when the disaster is occurred, we have rescue and evacuation. It means that we need to evacuate. But right after the disaster is stopped, we are coming to the post-disaster phase. And we need to relieve everything damaged by the disaster. First, search and rescue. Perhaps there were several victims that couldn't be found yet. So we do the search and rescue. Then, after rescuing the human being, of course, we need to fulfill the human basic needs, like food and water, shelter and sanitation, and then clothes and blankets, security, and also healthcare. So this happened in post-disaster phase. Okay, after relieving the victims and also some environments, we are going to move to rehabilitation phase. It usually happen more than 6 months after the disaster occurred. Rehabilitation phase. It means that we are restoring the function that was collapsed during the disaster. For instance, previously, the hospital was collapsed because of an earthquake. So in this phase, the hospital is rebuilt. So it can be used again. Last is the reconstruction. Reconstruction usually happen after 1 year after the disaster itself. What should we do? We need to recover the social and also economical aspects in that area. And we need to restore the government function, because when the disaster happens, the government is no longer ruling that area. So we have an institution responsible for a disaster. In Indonesia, Badan Penanggulangan Bencana or disaster relief team. So in reconstruction phase, Yeah, we try to recover the governmental function. Last but not least, also we need to recover the structure and infrastructure, like rebuild the house, yeah, rebuild the road, and so on. Okay, so that is what we do. So if we need to conclude the disaster management, this is the same. In the middle, as you can see on the screen, is disaster occurrence. It means the intra phase. And on the right side, that is disaster mitigation. Consists of risk prevention and also preparedness. It is related to time bound. And right after the disaster occurred, we have disaster response or emergency response. So it should be done as soon as possible after the disaster occurred. Okay, so that's why previously I had give several informations about 3 cycles of disaster. Okay, next. Yeah, talking about disaster management, we have several clusters, especially in Indonesia. We have 8 clusters. The first one, search and rescue clusters. This cluster responsible on finding victims and also evacuating the victim to the safe zone. Not all people can join this cluster. You need to be trained how to search the victim, how to rescue the victim anywhere it is. For instance, there is a victim inside a small room. Yeah, how can we save the victim without any further damage, without making the victim unsafe, and so on. That is search and rescue cluster. Second, health cluster. Yeah, we are here in health cluster. It has responsibility to take care of people, not only the victim, but also the volunteer, and it's related to their health, both the mental and also physical health. Third, logistic cluster. Can we be part of logistic cluster? Yes, we can. But it usually consists of architect, engineer, and so on. Logistic cluster, it doesn't mean that we only accept any need, yeah, or any aid, humanitarian aid, for instance, but we also need to understand which things come first, come out. Yeah, for instance, there is a donation, and the donation is food, for instance. We need to know how to handle that donation. That is the responsibility of logistic cluster. So the logistic cluster is not only storing the donation, but this cluster has responsibility to distribute it, yeah, to record what's in and what's out, and so on. Fourth is shelter and protection cluster. In building a shelter, it doesn't mean we just build a tent and just let it go. No, we need to think in that shelter in which part we should put the bathroom, the bedroom, the kitchen, the kids playground, for instance, yeah, where to put hospital field, yeah. That is the responsibility of health and protection cluster. Have you ever heard news that talk about the victim of disaster is also being the victim of sexual harassment, for instance? Yeah, sometimes it can happen. So that's why in shelter and protection cluster, we need to think about that. Okay. Fifth, education cluster. Yeah. Previously, when we had COVID pandemic, all of the educational system were shut down. The students no longer joining a class, yeah. So they need to join the class online. That is the responsibility of education cluster. Because in disaster phase, sometimes the school is also affected. So that's why we need this kind of cluster to make sure that students can get education properly. Okay. 6, economical cluster. Yeah, of course, it is used to rebuild the economical ambience. Yeah. And the 7 is facilities cluster. Facilities cluster, so the responsibility is to build temporary house, for instance, is to build kitchen, yeah, is to build a hospital field, and so on. It's about facility. So that's why we have facility cluster. And last one is early recovery cluster. Early recovery cluster is related to governmental recovery, yeah, the socio-economic and also political recovery. So that is the last one, the 8 cluster, early recovery cluster. Can we help professional join this kind of clusters beside health cluster? Of course we can, but yeah, what is it? Since we are health professionals, of course it will be more suitable if we join the second cluster, health cluster. Okay, next. Yeah, previously we talked about facility cluster. So here in Indonesia we have Huntara, Hunian Sumentara, or in English we say for the victims. It is usually built by the government or sometimes the humanity organization, and it is made from wood or even bamboo. Yeah, because it's only temporary. And it usually located surrounding the affected area. So it's only the local area. Okay, besides Huntara, we also have, next. Yeah, we also have tons of disaster units operating in Indonesia, started from the national one, yeah, right, the circle on the upright side, yeah, it's BNPB in Bahasa, or it's the National Disaster Prevention Unit in Indonesia. And the one on the left bottom is the local disaster management unit. How about the one in the center? The one in the center is Search and Rescue Team of Indonesia. And then the up left, yeah, it is Indonesian Red Cross. And one on your right side is Undip's disaster unit. So it's a unit which both Dr. Zulfa and I work in. It's Diponegoro Disaster Assistance Response Team. We are responsible to manage disaster, whether it is local in Semarang or in Central Java or the national one. Later, we also prepared to involve in international disaster also. Okay, so these are the disaster units in Indonesia. Okay, next. Yeah, so what we do in Indonesia when there is a disaster. These are compilations of any kind of disaster in Indonesia. And the one on the middle is our team during Matese flood. It was happening in late 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just a few months ago. Well, or picture, those are describing disaster management in Indonesia. First one on your right upper side, it is a disaster tent. It is a shelter, and on your right bottom, it's mini surgical room in hospital field, and this one is hospital field looking from the outside, and last one is the kitchen. So this is the illustration of disaster management in Indonesia. Okay, perhaps someday you will be the part of it. Do you want to be the part of disaster team? I don't think so. Okay, yeah, it's up to you to decide whether when you want to join the disaster team or not. At first, it feels like, huh, how can I do in a disaster team? Perhaps you will feel a bit scared because in disaster we cannot predict what will happen next, yeah. Or perhaps you also worried that you will be injured yourself. But trust me, once you have a goodwill to be the part of disaster team, it will be fun to be disaster team because you are going to meet new person, you are going to assist some people and so on. Okay, so I guess this will wrap up my material this afternoon. Yeah, these are what we have discussed about disaster management. So there are 3 phases of disaster management, and each phase has different activities, but all of those phases should be done within a time bound. Okay, and this is the last quotes. It was from Stephen Hawking. Life on Earth is at the ever-increasing risk of being wiped out by a disaster. So as long as we live, as long as we breathe air, we are on the risk of experiencing a disaster. Yeah. Such as sudden global nuclear war, a genetically engineered virus, or other dangers we have not yet thought of. Yeah, so that's why we need to be prepared. We need to understand about disaster management. Okay, so I guess that's all. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you, nurse. You may take a seat. That's all. That's the first. That's the second lecture for today about disaster management. But after we learn about disaster management, we need to know about how the disaster itself is affecting the health risk. And so, without further ado, I want to invite back Dr. Ahmad Zulfa Juniarto to give us the lectures. Doctor, you have approximately 30 minutes, and also it can be extended to up to 15 minutes, so the maximum is 45 minutes. The time is yours.